Okay, so I wanted to address this question because I have been seeing it a lot. And I don't know if I want to say recently, but in general, I've seen this question of, well, I shouldn't say question, but like people expressing feeling tired, feeling exhausted. Um, and I have personal experience with this feeling myself, and it's an ongoing battle. I shouldn't say ongoing because I I feel like it's gotten so much better than it used to be. I can remember even when I was a teenager, always just feeling tired. And I didn't understand. Well, actually, I didn't even know that that was abnormal. I just thought, hey, I'm always tired. I thought it was a personality trait. um, Now, granted, I am more like mellow type, chill type vibe most of the time. However, more recently, I have found more energy than I think I have ever had in my life. Even as a kid, like I said, even as a kid, I was just always sleepy. Like I remember there's pictures of me just being knocked out, just tired, just tired. And so I thought that this was an important topic to address, and even the meditations that I have been making on YouTube, that was the one that got the most hits. And so I'm like, man, this is a real issue, and there needs to be some discussion around it. And I'm not going to just address it on a superficial level. I know sometimes it's like, well, just get more sleep. I know sometimes, yes, that's important. I'm not going to say it's not because it is. But I know that there are people who actually are getting enough sleep, but they still wake up tired. Um, and so I want to address it on multiple different angles to hopefully after the end of this, you will feel like you have some tools to start taking steps toward feeling more energized and not just feeling like you're just pushing through and getting through the day. Um, and so I'm gonna start superficial in case there are things that are superficial that need to be addressed, because sometimes it is as simple as the superficial things, but sometimes it's deeper than that. And I'll get to that later on in my discussion. So let's start with the basics. Like, yes, we are living beings that require sleep, like literal sleep. Um, there's a lot of, you can Google and see that the recommendation, I think, is like 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. Um, I almost want to Google to just see exactly what it says. Okay, my computer is not gonna turn on. All right, well, anyway, I think generally speaking, people usually say 7 to 8 hours is what is recommended. And I think sometimes that's true, generally speaking. However, I do think that there's some flexibility there. Some people actually need less. Apparently, you need less sleep as you get older. Um, but I also think that some people need more sleep. Um, and I don't know if that's just, I almost want to say that women, I think, need more sleep than men, but maybe I'm just making that up. I don't know, but I think there's some truth to that. Um, and so I think, yes, doing your best to get enough sleep. Now, I know if you have like small children, for example, that feels like virtually impossible. And I get that. I've been through that too. Um, but I will say, if sleep alone is your issue, start there. Even if you have to like see if there's some way somebody could help you just get one good night of sleep. Can somebody take the baby for one night? And maybe it's not tonight, maybe you have to schedule it a week or a month from now. I know that's a hard thing to get to, but sometimes it's as simple as that. Like, that is the prescription. Find a way to get some rest. And so if that is not the issue, then I think it's important to go get a blood test and see if there is something that you are lacking in, as far as vitamins or nutrients. Because sometimes that's the case. I know for me personally, I have low iron, and I know that that was one of the things that was depleting my energy. And so once I addressed that issue, my energy felt different. But it might be something else for you. So, yeah, talk to your doctor. See if there's an issue with your internal, within your body. If there's any deficiencies, go to your doctor and say, I have been tired. I have been feeling exhausted. I have been tired more than what I feel makes sense. But like I said, that, I think anybody, this is good advice for anybody in general. I think you should get your blood work done, because that can affect so many different things. But I'm also thinking, like, okay, if you know that you're only sleeping 30 minutes a day, and you're like, oh, doctor, why am I, feeling so tired? Well, it's because you aren't getting enough rest. That's why, so it might not be, it might not make sense to ask the doctor if you know that that's the case. You get my drift. And then if those two things have been addressed and you're still feeling tired, then I think it might be emotional or psychological. There's probably things that you have not worked through. Either it's unprocessed things, emotions, things that need to be worked out, or your life, you're living a life that wasn't made for you. I'll explain more on that in a second. But let me address like the unprocessed thoughts, feelings, emotions, etc. This is where I think therapy would come in. Or, I'm not even going to say, because yes, I'm a therapist, but, I'm trying not to be biased here. I mean, although I am, I can't really just completely not be biased, but you need to figure out a way to, if this is the issue, like I said, if you've addressed all the other things, you need to figure out a way to process those emotions that maybe you have been avoiding, or maybe you don't know how to process them. What might be another reason you have unprocessed thoughts? You're afraid of them. You need help processing them. Yeah, I don't know. Like, those are the things that I can think of. But there's something, if you have unprocessed things, there's usually a reason why you haven't processed them. And so whatever way works for you, you need to do that. And I can almost guarantee you that you will feel lighter. And so that's the other thing it could be. Now, the other thing, when I said you're living a life that wasn't made for you, what I mean here is like, if you can imagine like a fish out of water. Like, if you're a fish and you're trying to walk around, that's going to exhaust you. Or if you're a mammal and you're trying to swim, you're going to be tired, right? Like we can, as humans, we can only swim for so long before we are exhausted. And so there's something that's out of place. You're in an environment, you're in a situation that wasn't made for you. And so, an example of that, I have seen people, and I think that has even been my experience. I was working a job and I hated the job. It wasn't the job for me. I could do it, but it wasn't where I needed to be. Versus doing something else, doing things like this. Doing things like this, it lights me up, it energizes me because I enjoy doing it. And I want to be sensitive here because I know that sometimes that doesn't feel like it's an option to live the life that you want to live. Which I know, like we might have goals that we're like, man, like, I don't know if I'll ever reach that goal. And that's okay. But we should always be doing something that lights us up. You need to be doing something that lights you up. You need to find a way to be lit up. And I know that can be a difficult thing to find or to figure out. And I want you to know, like, it's okay to get help in figuring that out if that's what you need to do. But honestly, I think that a lot of times, like, it's something, if you really take some time, slow down, look within yourself, like, take a moment. You might even have to like revisit for like when you were a kid, like what did you say you wanted to do? I mean, granted, sometimes I know as kids we say ridiculous things. Like I know when I was a kid, I said I wanted to be a cereal or something. Like, yeah, some of my older cousins would joke with me, like, yeah, you said you wanted to be a cereal. Like, okay, I don't know what that was about, y'all. I don't know, but you feel me? Like, just put the fear aside for a second and just think, what do you really want to be doing with this one life that you have? Put even like money aside. Because I know sometimes like, yeah, but if I do that, I'm going to be broke. Or like just put everything aside. If you can do anything you wanted to do, what would you do? And see if you can start doing that in even small ways. Maybe you can't do it all, or maybe it would mean it would be too disruptive. Like I know, for example, if you have kids and you're like, I just want to go live on the beach and leave everything behind. Like I know, I know, like I'm not encouraging anyone to have a midlife crisis here. I'm just saying, like, start putting some effort and some energy into what you want to do, what you want your life to look like. And see if that starts changing your energy and how you move throughout the world. So those are basically my tips and tricks. So I'll review them real quick. Is do your best to get enough sleep, and enough sleep is different from one person to another. But enough sleep is when you wake up and you feel like refreshed. You feel like you rested and you feel like you have some energy to take on your day. That's what enough is essentially. 2, get your blood work done. Make sure you aren't deficient somewhere or somehow, some way. Work through your stuff, stuff emotionally. Even sometimes your stuff is like things you need to get done. Like, do the things, even if it's like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't feel like doing this. I know, but it's weighing on you by you not doing it. And that's, that could be physical stuff, but that can also be emotional stuff. Like, get it done so that you can get it off of your back. Well, I got a story about that. But let me finish. So the last one is to start shaping your life to be more of what you want it to be, so that you can thrive in an environment that works for you. Stop trying to be something or trying to live a life that isn't made for you. Because a lot of times, like, we try to live our lives based on how we think it should look. But, like, what does it need to look like for you to feel good? And so those are my 4 quick little tips that I think are actually quite effective, that I often talk about and address with my clients, and that have also helped me feel less tired and exhausted throughout my days, as a whole. And the last thing I'll say too is to have some grace for yourself, especially if you know that there are some things, like I said, if you have a little kid, if you have a baby, I think, like, even when we were dealing with COVID, like, that was just an exhausting time. Sometimes it makes sense why you're exhausted and there's no fixing it. And sometimes you just need grace and validation. Like, yeah, I get it. It makes sense why you're tired in this season of your life, but hopefully it's just a season of your life and it's not your entire life. And so do what you can to start making it so that this isn't your entire existence, but this is just a season. Because, like, I'll tell y'all, like, I think during COVID, I was tired, and I was like, you know what? It makes sense why I'm tired. And so I'm just going to take it easy on myself and get through this global crisis that we're dealing with, or as, like I said, a new parent, that's another example. Like, just take it easy on yourself. You're raising a human, so, or you're making a human. Pregnancy too, that was another one. So I hope this was helpful for you all. I'm going to try this new format of just coming on and talking. I know I usually make meditation videos, which I enjoy doing because I think it allows you to really take in the information or the concepts, and it also it's very structured intentionally, not just to sound really scripted, but everything that I say there is very intentional. And I want them to be helpful to you all, because that has also been a very helpful thing for me to use in my day-to-day life, using a meditation video to guide my thoughts and my breath. And it's a powerful tool that I just wanted to make my own version of it. And I hope you guys have enjoyed them. If you haven't checked it out, please feel free to check it out. I'm always open to feedback. And I hope this message has been helpful for you. And I wish you all well. And take care.